Hi guys, it's John here, and this is my video on how to set up a Flux node in 2023. So you're going to need a few things to set up a node. You're going to need a PC. You can obviously host this virtually if you want, but I like building my own to host at home. So I've purchased the Chewy Hero Box here, which should be powerful enough to run a Cumulus node. There are different types of nodes you can run, and we'll go over those specs shortly. So you need your computer, you need a USB stick of some form to install the Linux operating system. You'll also need your stake of Flux tokens. And again, we'll go over the amount required, but for the Cumulus node that I'm making today, that's going to be 1,000 Flux. So this Hero Box PC came in at about £140 with a £30 discount voucher that I had. And yeah, this is the cheapest I can find at the moment, which will run with the correct specifications. So we've got everything we need here to run a Flux node, but we will obviously benchmark it and double check that that is the case once we're set up. So I'll put a link to this in the description, and obviously if this isn't available, there will be an equivalent. You just need to make sure you've got the J4125 CPU in it. Now if you've got one of those, then you should be good to go. Don't forget you need 256 gigs of storage and also 8 gigs of RAM with a 4-core, 4-thread CPU. So that is what this matches. So with any luck, we'll be good to go once we're set up and running. Okay, so what is Flux exactly? It's basically a platform that allows developers to host their apps on the providers that run the nodes. So that's a very short way of saying it. You can watch the video here, which explains exactly what Flux is all about. But basically it is just that. You're going to be one of the nodes on the network that helps host, compute resource for developers and Web3 applications. That means you've obviously got a responsibility to keep your node in a good condition. And for that, you do get obviously some Flux every day in return for your troubles. So here we are going to be creating the Cumulus node, which needs 1,000 Flux staked before you can activate your node. So here, as I said earlier, we've got 2 cores with 4 threads. We've actually got 4 cores with 4 threads. So we've got a bit above what we require here. We've got 8 gigs of RAM, we've got 256 gigs of storage, and we should meet these requirements for the speed of the storage and memory. So we'll just double check that with the benchmark tool later. And of course, this is what I've been waiting for so long, my download or upload speed being 25 megabits per second. Okay, so what sort of reward can you expect to get from your Flux node? So this is an old screenshot from the old collateral days where it was 10,000 Flux to host a Cumulus node. And you could see here that you could earn about $8.50 a day, about $60 a week, or about $260 per month. Now, if we have a look at the current rewards here, so this is for our new collateral earnings, you're going to be getting about 0.3 Flux per day, 2.64 per week, or 11.49 per month. So let's just work this out. So 11.49. So it's about just under $6 per month at the current price. Now the price is pretty low compared to its all-time high of about $3. So if we ever do see a return to form, or even over $1, it'd be obviously earning yourself a lot more. So this isn't a sort of short-term gain. This is going to be a long burner, which you can sort of hope in the background that the Flux token can recover. So yeah, don't go into this thinking that this is going to be, $100, $200 per month on your passive income. It is a slow burner, which you're hoping and you're sort of betting on the future of Flux that it will turn into something special again when the next bull run starts. Okay, so the version of Ubuntu that we're going to download is not the 22.04.1. We actually need a older version. We actually need the 20.04 LTS version here. So click on here to download, and the download should start. You can see here I've already gone through this and installed the wrong version, so I can delete that now. And to flash this, or to sort of burn this onto our USB stick, we're going to use a tool called Rufus. So again, link to this in the description. Just click on the latest version and just get it to run. I've already downloaded it, so it's in my downloads here. So when you click on open, you'll see that it pops up here. Now there's no device detected yet, so I'm just going to plug in my USB stick. Okay, and this is my USB stick in the D drive, so I'm going to flash over with the correct version now. So I'm going to click on select, and here is the version that I've just downloaded. Okay, so once you're happy, you've got 20.04 selected, just click on start, and then click OK, and then press yes. This just means it's going to overwrite the old version. Click OK here, and all the data on that disk is obviously going to disappear. So once we've got that formatted, we can put this into the little mini PC and get it booting and installing Ubuntu. Okay, so once it's finished, you can click on close and remove the disk safely. So let's just go ahead and set up the wallet required for our Flux node, and then we will continue with the installation. So the wallet you need is actually called Zelcore. So this is actually the old name of Flux. It used to be called Zelcore, believe it or not. And this is where we can set up our wallet, which is where we're going to host our Flux and obviously get paid our Flux as well. Now you can download it for your phone. I'm just going to download it on Windows for the time being because I need to obviously show you exactly what I'm doing. So we're going to download the Windows version here and get that installed. Okay, so what we're going to do is register a account, as we don't already have one. So let's click register, type in our username here. Okay, so we've typed our username and our password in, so let's register now. Okay, so make sure you back up your credentials and you know where they are, because if you lose them, then you've basically lost everything. So we've now registered that. So we should be able to log in. Let's give that a go. Okay, it's going to ask you if you want to unblock the access. So we're going to allow access through the firewall for the wallet. Just ignore these messages that come up here. This is it basically. So this is our new wallet that we've created. Okay, so I bought my Flux the other day and I've got 1,000 here waiting to go. So I want to get it into my new wallet here. So what I'm going to do is just add an asset. And you can see here, you can add the featured assets, which are obviously Flux to start with. Now my Flux is currently on BSC, so as it's on the Binance exchange at the moment. So I'm going to click Binance version of Flux. You can obviously add other assets as well. You don't need to just have Flux in here. You can put many different coins in here if you wanted to, but we're just going to stick with Flux for the time being. Okay, so we're pretty much ready now. So let's start the installation of Flux and we can carry on with receiving our Flux in our Zelcore wallet and then linking it up with our node. Okay, so I'm hitting F2 and delete to get into the BIOS and we should get there. Yeah, we are there. So let's go over to our boot and make sure our Kingston Traveler, our USB stick there, is the primary boot device. So we're going to exit. We haven't made any changes, so we can just carry on with that. And now what we can do is from the installation menu here, we're going to select install Ubuntu server. That's going to start the setup. So just to let you know, I'm going to zoom into the screen here, so you'll miss the bottom of the screen, but that's only where you need to confirm things. There's nothing too important at the bottom of the screen, but I just wanted to zoom in so you can actually read the text. But yeah, you just need to move your cursor down to the bottom and select done once you've selected any of the upcoming options. Okay, so we're here at the setup screen. I'm just going to select my language and keyboard layout here. So set yours to your relevant country. Now I've come to the network connection screen here and it hasn't detected the Ethernet. So you may also come across the same situation. So for the time being, I'm going to set up the Wi-Fi connection and we'll sort out the Ethernet at a later date. Now I know for a fact that it can work on the later version or the unsupported version of Ubuntu server. So it's probably just because this is an older version which we're using, which is what is required for Flux, that it hasn't detected the Ethernet straight out the box. But anyway, that's fine. We're going to just pop in our Wi-Fi details here and save that. So we'll at least get an IP and be able to continue. Just give that a moment. Okay, so we can go down to done. Just skip past that. We can install we can use the latest install if we so wish. It's only less than 10 megabytes, it doesn't take long. First, it's going to ask us to sort out the disk. So the important thing here is to deselect this setup as an LVM group. We want to just use the entire disk, and that's all we care about. So click on done. Once that's selected, just confirm it all looks okay, and then click done again. And then click continue, because we know it's going to erase everything. So now we're just going to type in our name here and our server name. Let's just call it Hero Box, as that's what it's called. We'll pick a username, okay, and click on done. Okay, so make sure you click to install OpenSSH server. That will allow us to connect remotely, and just click on done. And we don't need to worry about installing any additional software. So just go down to done and it will start installing. So this will take a good few minutes. So go and get yourself a cup of tea or something, and we'll come back once it's ready. Okay, so once complete, you're just going to want to go to reboot now, and it will say it's failed to unmount the drive. That's okay. It just means you need to remove the USB stick and press enter and let it reboot. So it's now going to boot up into the system. Okay, so before we go too far, we're going to try and get our Ethernet working. If your Ethernet's working fine, just skip this. Obviously, there'll be a time on the screen or in the time code to skip past this. But as my Ethernet's not currently working, I'm going to try and get it working first, because Ethernet's going to be a lot faster than using the Wi-Fi. Okay, so running this, we can see that the network is showing as disabled, so we need to obviously change that. Now this is showing as ENP S0, so what we're going to do is we're going to edit our network file. So we're going to use vi. And we've got one for the Wi-Fi there, so it has detected that. So let's copy the Wi-Fi one first, just to have a backup. So we've got a backup of it now. So let's just go into it. So let's change this to be Ethernet S, and then the name of our Ethernet ENP2S0. So we can delete this and just keep the DHCP4 to true. So we're going to write and quit with a colon here, so colon WQ, just to save the file. We need to run netplan generate and then netplan apply. Then we'll just do an IPA, and we'll see that our Ethernet has now picked up its address. So yeah, just keep this in mind if you do find that for some reason your installer doesn't find your Ethernet. Get it connected with Wi-Fi to start with, and then we can come in and just edit that file like I did here. I'll just go over that file again. So this is the location. Doesn't matter that it's called Wi-Fi. You could rename it if you wanted to. But yeah, that is now running as it should do. Right, so now we've got that finally up and running, we can start the installation of Flux itself. So I'm going to use Putty on my PC to connect to that now, and that will just make things easier to copy and paste between. Okay, so with Putty here, I'm going to type in this 192.168.1.154, just save it as Hero Box. Call it something that you can remember, and then we're going to open that, and we're going to get this warning about the potential security breach. Just click accept on that, that's fine. Okay, now we can log in as our user. Okay, so let's go into our super user account, sudo su, and then type in your password, and you now see the hash after the username here. So now what we can do is actually paste in, let's just clear the screen, we're going to paste in our script or our multi-toolbox here. Again, this is all going to be the description below. Hit enter on that once you paste it in by right clicking, and that's going to start the toolbox up. So this is just going to make things nice and easy. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is install Docker, and that's where our Flux node is going to sit inside. So it's going to ask us to enter our username. So we're going to pop in our username here. We obviously don't need to create a new user as it's already been created. We're going to carry on using that same user for Flux as well. So it's just going to install Docker here in the background. Okay, so we can press yes here. We're already in as hex scripter anyway. Okay, so I've just cleared the screen just to make it easier. So we're going to run the script again. And this time we're going to do number 2, option 2, which is to install the Flux node. Okay then, so during the setup, we've now been asked for our Flux node identity key, which is generated by our Zelcore. So this is in our Zelcore wallet, which we haven't actually generated yet. So we're going to do that bit next. Okay, so we want to send Flux across to our Zelcore wallet now. Now this asset here is the normal sort of Flux asset, obviously. Now my Flux that I bought is actually on Binance. So to get my BSC address for Flux, I need to do a show zero sum here. And we can see here the Flux-BSC on BEP20 is down at the bottom here. So let's click on that, and then we'll do a receive on this. So this is the BSC address for my Flux. I'm going to just copy that and go back into Binance and enter my address here. We can keep it on the BEP20 network. You can see the fee is very small, just 7 cents. Yes, I'm sure. Obviously double check all the addresses are correct. Mine ends in 4D5709B1. And again, I'm just going to send the small amount first, just to make sure it goes across. And that includes the network fee there. So let's just withdraw that and make sure that goes through. I'll just wait for this withdrawal to go through. And once it has appeared, I can send the rest across and then we'll get it transferred correctly. Obviously, if you aren't on the BSC network, you will need to do it in whatever network you are on. So we can see here that's actually already come across, as you can see. So it's very, very quick. Quite impressed with that. So I can send the rest across now, thankfully. So I'm going to go back to my Flux BEP20. I'm going to do another receive, and I'm just going to copy that address again. We've got our address. We are on the BEP20 still. Yes, I'm sure. Just going to double check that it is the correct address. Okay, so there goes across our Flux. And if we minimize this and just give this a few moments, we should see that appear, hopefully. Okay, so it took a few minutes longer this time, but our Flux is now here. So that's a total of $504 worth, 1,004 Flux. So now, like I said, we need to convert this into, well, Flux on the Flux network itself. So what we need to do is go into the apps section here. And in here, you can use something called Fusion to convert between different blockchains. So I'm going to click on here, and we're obviously going to be converting our Flux-BSC into our standard Flux. Here we go. So what I can do here is just click on max, basically. You can see it's going to cost a couple. It's actually going to cost 4 Flux, so good job I sent a bit more than I was expecting. So I'm going to send all of it across to by Flux, basically, and that will then be on the Flux network itself. Okay, 4th time lucky. We've got BNB on BEP20. We've got our Flux token here ready to convert into Flux. Let's try again, apps, Fusion, and select our BSC. And we're going to buy Flux. Let's do 1,004 to receive 100. So let's just give that a try now. We receive 1,000, sorry, not 100. Okay, it's finally working. So you do need a bit of BNB if you're on the BNB chain. So I've gone through this so you don't have to. Just remember that depending on what chain you're on, you obviously need some gas fee to be able to do the conversion, unless you're already on the Flux network. But anyway, we're going to wait for this to complete. And once it is, we can then sort out the rest of the wallet. Okay, so our transaction is now finished. So let's close out of this, go back to our portfolio. And here we should see, hopefully, once it's dated. Okay, and it's just updated there. So we've now got our 1,000 Flux here. So the next step we need to do is go into the app section, and we need to add a Flux node here. So let's click on here. So it's saying here it's added 1 Flux node to my Flux nodes. So we can see we haven't got any details of the node yet, as obviously it hasn't been set up. We can expand this. We can see the details of what we were after in our setup. If you remember, we're waiting for the Flux node identity key. So to get our ID that we need for the setup, we're going to just click on edit here, and it's going to ask us for some details. So it's going to ask us for our Flux node name. So let's just call it Hex Crypto. Obviously give it a name of whatever you wish. And here it's going to ask for our Flux node IP. So this is our external IP from our node. So you can go to a site called ipchicken.com, nice and easy to remember, and that will tell you what your external IP address is. Let's copy that in here and then paste that into there. And now this is the identity key that our setup is asking for in the background here. So it says here, Flux node identity key. So let's click on that, and that's going to copy that. So let's save these settings. And then we can just right click and paste that key into there, press OK, and it's going to ask for the collateral transaction ID. So let's just double check our wallet again, our Zelcore wallet, click on edit. You can see here the collateral transaction ID is this one here, so let's click there. That will copy it into our clipboard, right click, and it will paste into our install. Now the output index, which again in our wallet here we can see it's a 0, so we can just a 0 into there, press OK. Now it's asking you to enter your Zel ID from Zelcore. So it says here to get that you go to apps and then Zel ID. So let's do that now. So we're going to apps and Zel ID. It's saying to click on the QR code. So let's click on there. That will copy that. And we're just going to paste that into here. So it's saying here we're actually eligible to receive KDA rewards. Now it's asking what our KDA address is. I don't actually have a KDA wallet, so I haven't ever used KDA. So what I'm going to do is just go into Binance and do deposit of KDA here, as if I am depositing KDA, and I'll click get address, press OK. Okay, so this is my KDA address. I'm just going to copy that. If I do get any KDA rewards, they'll just go straight into my Binance account. So let's pop that into there. And the installation will continue. You can see it's run through the benchmarks and it's gone through all of those okay. Okay, so here we're just going to do option 1 and download from source and build in script. Just let it continue doing its thing. Okay, so we can see here it's downloading the blockchain at the moment. So it did some speed tests and it worked out exactly where the fastest location was for it to access the file. We can see CDN8 was the winner. So we're just downloading that now, and hopefully that'll just be a few more minutes for the ETA here before we can continue. Okay, so whilst your node is downloading, expanding and syncing things, it's probably a good idea now to open your ports on the firewall. So this is going to be your home router, so you should have a bit of sort of networking knowledge to be able to do this, because if you don't, well, there'll be a guide for your router on how to do it, but what I would do is just add my node in here. So we need to open up the following UDP ports, 30,000 to 39,999. So just make sure it's pointing to your internal address of your Flux node. And obviously we need to make sure that's a static address, which mine is. So I'm going to add that in. We're also going to need to add in a couple of TCP ports here. So that's 16124 to 16128. So let's pop that into the right field. And we're going to call this Flux Node TCP. Pop in our address again, 192.168.1.154, and we can press OK to save. Okay, so once you're synced up to the blockchain, it's going to ask you if you want to enable auto update. I can't see that being a bad thing, so I'm going to click on yes. Now, do you want to enable alert notifications? So you can get alerts to, I believe, a Discord or Telegram account. Now, I'm not going to do that at the moment. You could do if you really wanted to, but I'm not going to bother. So we've gone through those little bits in the setup, and it's just going to ask us for another 5 minutes of our time. So go and make another cup of tea or coffee, and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, so it's now just restarting the benchmark. So hopefully this will also pass once more. Okay, so we've got a nice little message here saying that the installation is complete. So let's just double check the benchmark. So that all looks good. So these are some commands it's giving you a list of here. So what I'm going to do is just copy these out. So I'm going to copy the whole lot here and just pop that into a notepad file or something, just so I can, always know how to run stuff and look at things in the future. This may also help me monitor it from Nagios or something else as well, if I so wish in the future. But yeah, that is it. It's set up, and we've now just got to check our Zelcore wallet and see whether our node is ready to start yet. So we need to wait for 100 confirmations in our Flux node section here. So we're currently at 23 confirmations. So we'll come back when it's 100. It's just gone to 24, and it will give us the option to actually start our node. So what I'm going to do is actually move my node into its final location, and then I can set it up there and just make sure it's all plugged in nicely, rather than having it on my desk here, because I don't want it to go up and down too much when it's actually running. So I'm going to shut this down, move it across. When this gets to 100, we will start it all up and just see if it all works. One last thing I've just spotted, actually, it does say here to check PM2 list. So let's just run that and see what actually happens. There we go. So that's actually just showing us what's running there. So that's all good. So that's fine. So I'm going to shut this down now with a shutdown -H now. And I'm going to move it into its location and start it back up. Okay, so it's been about an hour or so since I last left this. So the number of confirmations has gone up, and we can see that I can now start my node. Now, before we want to do that, we just want to click on the Flux OS here and go to the web page that it brings up. So we can see here, but we just want to double check the benchmarks here and make sure it looks okay. So click on there, click on get status. You can see it's online, benchmark is cumulus, and it is connected. So it's passing all the benchmarks, so we're all good there. So what we need to do now is just click on start and get our node up and running. So I'm going to click on the start button here, and it's just going to go through this sort of notice. So you're about to start your Flux node hex crypto. Before you press start, we suggest you confirm your Flux node is running well and that it is passing benchmarks. Otherwise, your node might enter DOS status. So we've already just checked our get benchmark section here, and it's showing as our cumulus node, so it's good to start. So we're good to go. So I'm going to click on start Flux node here. So it says here it can take 2 to 20 minutes to start. So I will skip to when it has started. Okay, and our Flux is now working correctly, it says here. So yeah, that's it. Our node is running, and hopefully we'll start earning some Flux, and obviously hopefully the price of Flux will go up over time. So I hope this video was useful. If you've got any questions or comments at all, do let me know down below. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm by no means an expert in Flux at all, but I did have a few issues setting mine up with various different problems. But yeah, this is after some trial and error, the best way I've found of setting up a node. So the computer I'm using uses about 7 watts of electricity. I did have it connected to a power meter. So 7 watts is less than a light bulb. It's less than most LED light bulbs. So yeah, it's not going to cost a lot to run, maybe $5 or $10 a year, I guess, with the price of electricity going up. But yeah, it's a cheap system, and yeah, it's not going to earn a huge amount at the moment, but if the value of Flux goes up in the future, then you'll have a nice little passive income earning on the side there. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out my other videos, which are down below and in the top right corner, for different ways of earning passive income. The next video I'm going to do is setting up some pre-search nodes, so be sure to subscribe to see that. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.